Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a video today for you that has been requested by one of my subscribers, and it was mentioned on my beginning Bible journaling video series about how I personally study the Bible. And I am going to do that video, but there are a lot of different ways to study, and personally I study in a lot of different ways. So for today, what I thought might be helpful is if I kind of share with you some of the resources that I use and why I use them or how I use them. As you can see, I have 3 notebooks here, and this first one is my growth book. This is where I write down like our family Bible study and that kind of stuff. I also do stuff, on my iPad. These are just some notes that I have taken for a different study, and it really just kind of depends on what I'm doing and why. Of course, I have my James method for verse mapping, and then this is also James method, but it's just a spiral bound one. But and then I have another journal, which I don't have over here with me, that is more kind of open-ended, that where I will do like word studies and those kinds of things. I just think it's very valuable to have a variety of ways that you study. Sometimes you want to dig in deep and do a verse map. Sometimes I personally like doing word studies or topical studies. And so it just kind of varies. And so I'm going to go through just some of my favorite and most used resources. And by far, my most used resource is the Blue Letter Bible app. I have done a whole video on that. I'll try to link that down below. It is just a lot of information, really easily accessible, and including dictionaries and commentaries and all those kinds of things. So I'm not going to be going through because obviously using a Strong's Concordance and some dictionaries, some lexicons, those kinds of things are very important, but all of that is contained within the Blue Letter Bible app, which is why it is one of my favorite resources to use it daily. But when I want to do a word study or a topical study, one of my favorite resources is this book, and it's the Naves Topical Bible. And what I love about this is it's not the same as when you're searching for a word like in the Blue Letter Bible app, where you can, type in wisdom, and every verse that uses that word is going to show up. The Topical Bible, this particular version is going to give you just different verses that may not use that word but are pertaining to that topic. And so for one example, I just marked this one. There is a whole section on wisdom. So if you wanted to do some research on wisdom, it's talking first, and it even kind of subcategorizes. So it's talking about spiritual wisdom, and then it goes into, you can see these are all the verses, and they're written out too. Which is one of the things that I love. You don't have to keep, flipping back. Of course, this is the King James Version, but you could read it in your own preferred version. But then you have the wisdom that is spiritual from God. And then it even goes into wisdom that's mentioned that's worldly wisdom. And so it's just really good resource if you really want to kind of take a topic and get into that. So it talks about wives. I mean, there's just all kinds of topics. I really love this topical Bible, and it just gives you everything that you need to really study in depth in a topic. Another option is studying by book, and you can do that, through commentaries. There are multiple commentaries that are available, like I said, in Blue Letter Bible app. Another one that I really enjoy are the Warren Wiersbe ones, and you can do these by book. And the reason I like these is because you have the study itself, but then at the back, it has some reflection questions. So this book happens to be on Philippians, so it's talking about being joyful and kind of the overarching theme of Philippians. And then it kind of goes into, and as you're reading through, then there are some questions for reflection. And I just kind of like that aspect of that. So I tend to write those off in a different book. But this is another set of books resource that I really, really enjoy. And then as you're studying, it's hard to kind of understand things and try to keep everything straight. So another really helpful resource that I love is it's this Baker Encyclopedia of Bible People. So, you know, if you are reading about somebody and a name comes across and you're like, I don't know who that is or what they did, you can go in here and it will give you some information, some significance, where they are, encyclopedia, dictionary, just references to them, the meaning of their name even is in here. For instance, right here, we're at Solomon. So this is why that's significant. What does his name mean? Some dictionary, encyclopedia references. And then there's a Bible study on the life of Solomon. A lot of really good information in here. And of course, you know, depending on how frequently they're mentioned or how significant they are in there is going to depend on the amount of resources that are available for you in here. But there's another one that my husband has that is called the Who's Who in the Bible. Another good resource, just kind of tells you, you know, who everybody is. Either one of these, something like this is just really helpful if, you know, especially to try to remember, you know, try to figure out who is who and what they did and where you can find information about them. You hear somebody, maybe you hear a sermon and someone mentions a character that you're not familiar with, and you can go look that up and find out where you can find out more about them. Alongside that is another book that's called The Remarkable Women of the Bible. This is by Elizabeth George. Elizabeth George has another book that I highly recommend to everybody that's called A Woman After God's Own Heart. And when people ask me for books, that's one of the top 5 that I will always recommend. It's such a good book. And then this one kind of just focuses down in on women and how they relate to the Bible. And so you have, you know, Rebecca, just different people, kind of what they're known for. It's not a hard read, but you can definitely go through and study. And then what I really like about this is, like this one is talking about Hannah, and this says Hannah's message for your life today. So just things like that you can take from these women and make an example for your life out of that. And so really, really enjoy this reference as well. The Remarkable Women of the Bible by Elizabeth George. And then I have a couple other just fun ones that I like to use. I will say, along with kind of back to those bigger like Matthew Henry or some of those bigger kind of commentaries, is a Halley's Bible Handbook. This is another one. It has a commentary. It has archaeological discoveries. There's just a lot of information in here. And this is a very popular book. You may have heard other people talk about it, but this is just another really good reference, and it's by the book. So you can, the first half of this, you can go to, say, we're 2 Kings, and it's talking about Babylon and different things. And so and then it talks like Chronicles, we're talking about genealogies and different things. Just a good reference. So anytime you can get reference, it's, you know, I just personally find it helpful. And then another one, and this may seem kind of strange, but this is called The Daily Dose of Knowledge, and this is the Bible. And so this, I really like how this book is broken down, because it gives you basically every day of the week a different type of piece of information about the Bible. So it kind of goes through here. On Sunday, it's going to give you references about Jesus. On Monday, it's going to be Old Testament events. On Tuesdays, it's going to be Old Testament people. Wednesdays are New Testament events. Thursday, New Testament people. Friday, Bible books. And then Saturday is just kind of miscellaneous. So as you're reading here, like starting with day 1, you can do this, you know, if you wanted to do this as almost like a devotional for a year, you could certainly do that. Like very first one on Sunday, this is talking about Christ. And then day 1, Monday is creation of the world. This is an Old Testament event, and it gives you the title, you know, of those categories up at the top. And so it just gives you some information and then some notes down at the bottom. And it's just a quick read, but it also is just something that kind of over time, you just build up your vocabulary, your biblical vocabulary and knowledge, and, you know, studying about the characters and just events, and just kind of gives you a little bit of information about that as you're working through there. And so I have found this to be very helpful as well, just for kind of those information things that you may not put together yourself. And then another reference, and I actually stole this from my husband's bookshelf, is about the manners and customs of the Bible. There are plenty of books out there like this one. This just happens to be the one that we have. But if you're trying to, you know, something happens in the Bible, there's an event in there and you're kind of like, well, what in the world is that? Or who are they? You can kind of look that up. This is talking about changing of the name, shields, different Solomon's throne, just different information in here. And it gives you kind of, because really understanding some of those things in perspective of the time and the customs that were there, it really gives some significance to the event and even the way that things are translated. This is right here, is talking about binding and loosing in Matthew. And so it gives you some information about that, and just some different things. Like this is talking about phylacteries. You might say, what is a phylactery? So this is basically telling you what that is as part of the priest's wardrobe that they wore, but it gives you the reference of what that is. And so it just is helpful information sometimes to understand, you know, because so many of our customs are different, obviously, all of these years later. So this is just something that is really helpful for that as well. And like I said, I will probably do some videos about how I do my personal study. Of course, I work through devotionals from By the Well for God as well. And I do that, but you know, it depends on how I'm studying or what I'm studying or the purpose of what it is. So, you know, if I'm preparing a devotional, which I have given in the past, then I study that a certain way. Or in the past, when I've led women's meetings at our church, a lot of the times those will be kind of word studies or topical studies. And so it just kind of depends on what you're studying for. And there's a lot of different options out there. Things that I have tried that I didn't really enjoy, and then things that I really do enjoy. So there are also like the SOAP method, and then there is like the inductive. The inductive one is one that I just personally, it's not my favorite way to study. But I'll get into that maybe in another video. If you let me know if that's something that you would be interested in. I do hope that this little glimpse into some of these resources is helpful to you. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you would like to see some videos about maybe some of those different ways that you can study, so that you can determine what works best for you in your studies and how you relate to the Bible or how you choose to read it. Not, you know, doing a verse map is not for everybody. Sometimes that process is just a little bit overwhelming. And sometimes, you know, doing something where you really want to get an application out of it, you might want to do a different method. So anyway, if that sounds like something that would be helpful to you, please leave a comment down in the comments and let me know, and I'm happy to try to work through that. Those will maybe be some longer videos, longer form videos, but anyway, I have rambled on enough. If you liked this video, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.